All right, the 49ers had their final practice here Friday in Santa Clara. I mean, just moments ago, they got on the team bus heading to the airport and flying to New Orleans on Friday evening. They'll land there, have a walkthrough and meetings and everything on Saturday, and then an early start, noon Central Time, and then here on the West Coast, it'll be a 10 a.m. start. The 49ers did release their final injury report leading into this game. No huge surprises. Brock Purdy officially out. Questionable. Juwan Jennings with the shoulder injury and Trent Williams with the knee. So both of those guys took part in practice to some degree on Friday. I would think that they're both trending to play in this game. I saw Juwan Jennings running some routes. I saw him catching a pass in the end zone in warm-up drills, basically, and then using his right arm to dunk over the crossbar. So I think that means that the injury is to his left shoulder. And then Trent Williams, I didn't see him practice, but he was in uniform. He's working over on the side field with the 49ers strength and conditioning staff. So here's what I think. Yes, both of them are listed as questionable. Both I would expect to play. However, if something is needed or they have to leave the game early, I would expect Kendrick Bourne to then be in that role for Juwan Jennings. And I would expect Spencer Burford to be at left tackle in place of Trent Williams. Now, speaking of left tackle, I know that there was a lot of discussion about the draft and the 49ers going so heavy on defense, and something kind of jogged my memory this morning. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask Kyle Shanahan about this and just see how he responds. So my question to him was, at the time of the draft, the 49ers clearly were trying to trade up, and they admitted this, they said this, they were trying to trade up to select Mykel Williams. 49ers had the number 9 overall pick. I'm sorry, they had the number 11 overall pick in the draft. The Saints had the number 9 overall pick. So the 49ers, I think, were trying to leapfrog the Saints in order to get Mykel Williams. The 49ers, I think, were mildly surprised that the Saints went with Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas, at number 9 overall. So my question to Shanahan was there a scenario in your mind where it would have been likely that the Saints end up with Mykel Williams and you, the 49ers, end up with Kelvin Banks? And Shanahan declined to answer that outright. He said he didn't want to divulge who the 49ers would have selected if Mykel Williams had been taken earlier than the 49ers were picking, but he did allow that the 49ers really liked Kelvin Banks. And Kelvin Banks came out to Santa Clara on a top 30 visit, as did Mykel Williams on a top 30 visit. And now, as you know, just how it worked out, Kelvin Banks is a starting left tackle for the Saints, and Mykel Williams is a starting defensive end for the 49ers, and those two might end up seeing a lot of each other on Sunday in this game. Okay, so there's that part of this game. There's also what are the 49ers going to do at wide receiver and quarterback, and so we'll talk about those issues. Wide receiver, it does look like Juwan Jennings is going to try to play. I would think that would mean that the receivers who won't be in uniform for this game on Sunday would be Russell Gage. I think he'll stay on the practice squad. I would fully anticipate that he would not be one of those guys moved up, because if they move Russell Gage up to the active 48, then who doesn't play? Would it be Kendrick Bourne? No, I think he's playing. Would it be Marquez Valdes-Scantling? No, I think he's playing. Would it be Sky Moore? No, I think he's playing. And Ricky Pearsall is playing. So those are your 5. Pearsall, Jennings, Bourne, Valdes-Scantling, and Sky Moore. Sky Moore handling the punt return duties. And by the way, the 49ers brought in a left-footed punter for a tryout just so Sky Moore could get acclimated to kicking or to catching a ball that's coming off a left foot, just to get used to the different rotations. So those are the 5 receivers I expect to be active for this game. Jordan Watkins is getting closer and closer to being able to play. Is he ready? No. But could he in a pinch? Yes. So there's where the 49ers are from the wide receiver position, keeping a close eye on Jauan Jennings, but all signs right now pointing toward him playing in this game Sunday. Remember, the 49ers did this contract with Jauan Jennings that gives him more available bonus money, more incentive money based on play time. So he's rewarded by suiting up. He gets $50,000 by virtue of his original contract. He gets $50,000 every time he's on the 48-man roster, and also a possibility up to $3 million in incentives, in playtime incentives. So part of, I think, the reason the 49ers did this was just to put the onus on Jauan Jennings, or not put the onus on him, but just incentivize him for playing football. And maybe if he didn't have that contract, with the new incentives in there, maybe the 49ers would have thought, is he going to try to get out there when it's kind of cloudy, or he just doesn't have, there's no advantage for him to sit this one out if he can play. Not that that was ever going to be an issue, I think, with Jauan Jennings. He's a very proud guy, loves to play football, loves to produce, but part of this contract is reliant on him getting out there and playing. Okay, so who's going to be up from the practice squad? One guy for certain, Adrian Martinez, quarterback, who has done a lot to impress some people in a very short period of time. I spoke to him for the first time on Friday, right before the team left the locker room and were en route to New Orleans. So he'll be the backup. And to me, it says a lot that the 49ers, barring some surprise, won't be adding a quarterback to the building. It tells me that the Brock Purdy situation, they feel like, is very much under control. By the way, I saw Brock Purdy on Friday in the locker room walking around, no limp, looked good. I know he had a good workout day on Thursday, so I think it's possible, folks. I think it's possible that maybe he just misses the one game. I don't think, unless there's a setback, of course, I don't think that this is going to last more than 2 weeks. So I think from the 49ers standpoint, I think initially it was kind of thought to be a 2 to 3 week injury. And now it's looking like more of a 1 to 2 week injury for Brock Purdy. So all the onus, all of the confidence in where the 49ers are going with their offense now shifts over to Mac Jones. And he's not going to have George Kittle. He's going to have kind of a messed up wide receiver position. I mean, just think about all these wide receivers. There's Ricky Pearsall, and then there's Jauan Jennings, who hasn't practiced but 3 days and 6 weeks. There's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who just came to the team after the final cuts by the Seattle Seahawks. There's Sky Moore, who was a late add to the team in training camp with that trade. There's Kendrick Bourne, who just signed with the team on Monday. And there's Jordan Watkins, who's missed an extended period of time with a high ankle sprain. There's just a lot of moving parts with the 49ers right now. So what does Mac Jones have to do? His goal, he says, is just to keep it simple. Hand the ball off, throw the ball. Sounds pretty easy. So he's been in this position before. Of course, a 3-year starter with the Patriots, get traded last year to Jacksonville, started that season off as the backup quarterback to Trevor Lawrence, and then he gets in, plays 7 games. This is kind of immediate. He comes to the 49ers, and just his second game with his organization, he'll be asked to start, and he'll be asked to move the ball, move the team effectively. More than anything else, manage the game. Don't do anything outside of the comfort zone. Don't press the issue. Just make the plays that are in front of you. Do what you need to do. Most important thing, don't turn the ball over. Don't give Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans offense good field position. Don't give them any more opportunities. Make the New Orleans Saints beat the 49ers. And, it doesn't have to be this, but it's also the sense of the 49ers defense basically won that game in Seattle. Allow them to do the same. Don't put them in a bind where they're defending a short field. So I think if 49ers do that, they'll be fine. everything that the 49ers do will run through Christian McCaffrey. That doesn't mean he has to have 30 touches again, but it's the threat of Christian McCaffrey, both in the run game and the pass game, and then using the eyeballs and the people, the manpower on defense that are attracted to him to do some other things, get the ball in the hands of Ricky Pearsall and whomever else can step up. Who's going to be the X factor in this game for the 49ers? In week one, defensively, it might have been Sam Okawanu making the strip of a play that generated a big turnover in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, Jake Tonjes, not even the number 2 tight end, but the number 3 tight end, he came through in the clutch with the touchdown catch there with 94 seconds left in this game. So 49ers head to New Orleans, a very winnable game, even with the roster being in the state that it is. If they do all the things that they should do as far as just play, it doesn't have to be error-free or mistake-free football. They just can't do something that really puts them in a bad situation. I would describe it as maybe no catastrophic mistakes, and they should be okay. They should have an opportunity to create some issues for Spencer Rattler, force him into some mistakes. If they do that, the 49ers should be just fine, and they should be coming out of this game with a 2-0 record. Now, also, I fully realize it's the NFL, and there are a lot of moving pieces for the 49ers, so nothing could be really expected to come easy. So I think they're going to be in a tightly contested match, but one that they have to feel good about going to New Orleans and coming away with the home victory, with the road victory, actually. So thanks for tuning into this video, and that is it for now.